In today's lesson, we're going to look at how to do 3 constructions related to figures that we're going to be using this unit. Now, I'm demonstrating this on an online program. I'll have the link right below this video in your resources for today's lesson. However, you may have purchased a compass and a straight edge to use with geometry. There are a couple different types out there, but the compass that we're going to be using in this tool that might be a little bit more easily procured if you wanted a hands-on compass to use is going to be this tool where we have basically a pencil and we can adjust the width of that compass. So if you purchased one of these types of compasses or you do not have one, I would absolutely keep using this program on here. If not, I do have a secondary video posted with using a slider type compass. So it looks like one of these. Again, you can do these constructions with either of these tools and still be able to complete them. So most of y'all probably have a compass that looks kind of like this, although yours may potentially be made of plastic, but these are all going to work in similar fashion to this tool I'm using online. So there are 3 different constructions that we're going to look at. The first is how we can copy a line segment. And so you think, well, why don't I just use a ruler? Well, these tools were created, back before we had a standardized way to measure things. We didn't have standardized rulers and production facilities and things like that. So we needed a way to be able to compare measurements without that benefit. And so the way we do this is, well, we need to start with a segment. And what we're going to do, let me draw a segment. So here's our segment that we are going to use. And we're actually going to copy that length to another location on our paper or on our screen. And so my new line, let me go ahead and make that one purple. And I don't know why it keeps popping the compass up, but that's okay. So we're going to copy the length of the black segment onto this purple length. Now I purposefully drew that purple segment a little bit longer because what I'm going to need to do is actually use my compass to measure the length of the original segment. So the way this works, let me change my color to red. So this will show any of the marks that we're going to end up using. So we are going to take our compass. We're actually going to move that over. And we are going to change the width of this compass. So between the kind of pointy end of your compass and the end of your pencil is going to be the width of your segment. So you want to line these up. Nice thing about this online tool is it almost kind of snaps to. So if you go through to try constructions with this, you'll notice as you drag it close to endpoints, it'll kind of naturally snap to that location. And so I've now measured the length of that segment. So I want to make sure that when I'm moving my compass around, I'm not changing the width at all. Now, if you're using a physical compass, this is a lot easier to do. Just make sure you don't change the width of it. On this tool, I'm going to hit this little lock button. And so no matter what, if I move my compass around, it's not going to change that width. So then I'm going to go ahead and mark this. So on this tool, you actually need to go up to the top and grab on to, the top section of it. And that kind of twists your compass around. And it's the same kind of thing. If you're using one of these compasses by hand, you always want to kind of push down on the pointed end and kind of drag it around from that top little nubbin. That's going to be the easiest way to use your compass. And so this uses, that's those same principles in programming it. So then I'm going to take my compass. Again, I'm not going to change the width. Make sure my little lock is on there. And I'm going to move it to the end point of my new location for my new segment. And I'm going to go ahead and draw that same kind of arc as what I did on the black segment. And so what this is doing is I've actually now marked off an equal distance between the endpoint and where the segment is supposed to end. So our endpoint in red out to our red arc. Now I do actually have a ruler tool on here, so let's go ahead and use that to see how close we got. Okay, so I'm going to line up the 0, and then I believe I should be able to twist this. So as soon as I get this little icon that looks like the arrows, I can drag on that and twist my ruler around. And this one doesn't snap right to, so I might have to adjust it a little bit. So it looks like I'm at the second mark past the 6. So that's about 6 and 1, excuse me, this is, I don't know if this is meters or inches, but it looks like we have 10 marks in between like the 6 and the 7. So let's call that 6.2, because it's 2 marks past the 6. So let's do the same thing on the purple. And I need to rotate my ruler back around. There's my rotation. Line up the 0 right in the middle of the point. And there we go. We're going right through 6.2 again. All right, let's do another one of those. So again, I'm going to draw my original line segment a little differently. So instead of curving it or kind of angling it like that, let's turn off our extra tools and change my color back to black. So let's draw our segment like this. So again, we need to have a place to copy it to. So I'm going to make my new one purple. And let's draw a new spot up here again. I'm making it purposefully longer than my black segment just to make sure that I have enough room to mark that off. Alrighty, so I now need my compass. I'm going to change my color to red. Turn off my segment tool. Make sure I only have the compass tool kind of turned on. Place the endpoint one end of the segment. I'm going to have to unlock my compass because I need to change the width. And I'm going to drag it over so the endpoint is all the way at the end of my segment. I have to stretch it out real far. Okay, lock it up. Draw my little arc so I know that, okay, I've measured that length. I know I have my setting, set properly. Grab my compass, put it at the endpoint of the new purple segment. And draw my arc again. I have to be up at the top on this tool to draw that arc. And that should be a perfectly congruent segment. But again, let's check it. Okay, I got to twist my ruler around a little bit. Oops. Look for the little twisty arrows. Zero right in the center of our red point, and it looks like we're right between that previous mark and the 8. So let's call that 7.95. Alrighty, 7.95 is what we're checking. Oops, I'm rotated a little bit too much. Make sure I have the 0 lined up so it's right smack in the middle of the point. And there you go, 7.95 right in between the 2 marks. Alrighty, so let's try our second construction. So we need to be able to think of, well, how do I copy the length of a segment? And we just looked at distance and midpoint formula, so those are related to each other. So now let's see, the next thing that we're going to start talking about as part of this unit is angles. So let's do a couple angle constructions. So first one is, again, let's go ahead and copy an angle, kind of like we did here. So again, I'm going to change it back to black. I'm always going to do my original on here in black color. And then I'll always do the new version in a different color. Okay, so to draw an angle, I don't actually have an angle tool on here, but when we look at angles, again, the biggest thing is basically it's made by 2 rays that are connected at a common endpoint. So I'm going to use this as my angle. I know these don't look like rays, they don't have arrows on them. But this is absolutely still an angle to common endpoints stuck together. And our angle is kind of the space in between them. And so we need to be able to figure out, well, how do we actually measure a space in between? Well, before we do that, we need a place to actually copy our angle to. So again, I'm going to go in purple. And let's draw another start of our angle. So we have 2 sides on every angle. Now, I don't know where I'm going to have to draw that second side yet, but I can draw the first side. And again, I'm going to give myself a little extra space. And so I know that my second side of my angle is going to have to go somewhere up here, but I don't know exactly how that's going to work yet. So here's what we do to measure. So again, I'm going to start out with red as my color for my compass. First thing I'm going to do, again, unlock your compass because we're going to have to change the width. We're going to put the pointy end right at the vertex of the angle, right smack in the middle where the two sides meet. And then what we're going to do is draw an arc that intersects both sides. Now with the width of my compass now, that's way too wide. So I want to change that up so it's a little bit closer in. So let's go about there. And again, I'm going to lock the compass. So when I draw with it and move it over, it doesn't change its width. Let's draw an arc that goes through both. And again, it might switch around on us as we're kind of trying to pull things out past the window of this screen. That's okay. So I have an arc now that intersects both sides of the angle. I want to do the same exact kind of arc starting from the end point of where I want to put my new angle. Again, I haven't changed my width. I still have the lock on there. So I can start drawing that arc. And again, not a bad thing to kind of go bigger than you think you're going to need, because then you don't have to worry about extending any lengths on there for yourself. So now what we need to do is measure this distance. I'm going to change to a new color. Let's go to green. Okay. And so now I need to measure the distance between these two intersection points that are on here. So again, what I'm going to do is take my compass. I am going to go ahead and unlock it now that I've drawn those arcs, because I'm going to need to kind of remeasure stuff. And I'm always going to put it on the leftmost, or if it's twisted around, the topmost point on here. And so then I need to then put the point of my pencil at the other intersection point. So I'm using my compass tool to actually measure that width. You might have seen in, potentially in movies, I think I remember seeing this in Pirates of the Caribbean, where they actually had kind of a compass tool and they were measuring lengths out on a map. That's exactly where this started from. You figure out your scale on the map, set your compass, and then you can use that to measure it along on your map in other places if you didn't have a ruler to use. Okay, so we've set our measures, lock our compass. And actually, I probably wanted to do this the other way, because what I'm going to want to do is actually set my compass on this intersection point. So might have been a good idea to set your pointed end here. Again, we'll practice this one again. I'll want to do 2 of each construction, but it doesn't really matter when we're going through to draw. Again, let's actually let's redo this one. Okay, so I'm going to change it, put my compass point there, and then move the pointed end of my pencil this way. Okay, now lock my compass again. I'm going to go ahead and draw an arc saying, okay, I've measured this length. So we're measuring between the green point and the green arc. And we want to do the same measure now on the other arc. So line it up at your intersection point. Draw your arc. And now that intersection point that we have there is where we can draw the new side of our angle. So I'm going to get my segment tool and just go from my red point and pull it so it goes right through that new intersection. And now we've got congruent angles. And again, we can check the measure. We do actually have a protractor on here. And again, the way your protractor works is you're going to put the vertex of your angle right at the middle at the crosshairs. And then it drags and drops really nicely. And then we're going to line up one of the sides of our angle with the very bottom of our compass. So again, drag your mouse until you get to this twisty tool and you can kind of twist it around. And we have it going like that right between the 2 and the 3 marks after the 60. So this is about 63 degrees. So let's see if we got that other one kind of close. So about 63 degrees. And twist them around. There we go. We got pretty darn close, about 63 degrees. I know it's the 63 degrees and not right below 120, because if you think about angle measures that you've talked about before, again, if you have something that's 90 degrees, you have that perfect right angle. Anything bigger than 90 is going to be wider. And so I know that I'm closer in. I need to look at my numbers that are less than 90 degrees. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, clear it all out, close out the tools. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go ahead and draw an obtuse angle. So I'm going to put my obtuse angle up here, again, bigger than 90 degrees. And then before I do anything else, I need a place to put my new angle. So new angle, I'm going to put down here. I'm giving myself plenty of room to work. Okay, I'm going to change my color to red. First task is to draw the arc that goes all the way through. So pointed end of your compass right at the vertex. Change your compass width if you need to, so you can know that it will fit, you will actually intersect both sides. Lock it up and draw your arc. Again, might twist around on you, that's okay. As long as you have the lock on there, it doesn't matter. Okay, drawing the same exact arc where our new angle is going to go. Draw your arc. And want to come over a little bit further than you think you need to. Nothing wrong with going with a longer arc to give yourself room to work. Okay, next step. Need to measure the width of my angle. So again, I'm going to change my color. Let's change them to green. Okay, I'm going to unlock my compass because I know I'm going to have to change its width. And just the way that I have things set up. So I have this point down here where is going to be my starting for measuring. So I'm going to start measuring, put my pointy end at the bottom point on my drawn angle, my original. Move my compass pencil over to the other intersection point. Lock it up. Draw an arc. So I remember, okay, I've measured this length. And then move your compass over to measure off that same length on the other construction. Again, at this stage, it may not look like you're perfectly ready to go. Some of your arcs may look a little different, which is okay. But again, draw in that second side before and measure it. Draw it in and check your work before you worry about redoing anything. These look like they're the same size, but let's double check it. Let me turn off my extra tools and turn on my protractor and line it up right at the middle. Make sure that bottom side is lined up perfectly with one side of your angle. We have an obtuse angle, so I know I need the numbers that are bigger than 90. So it looks like we're just one mark above the 130. So let's call that 129. And let's see, these are lined up pretty well with each other, but I do have to adjust a little bit on my protractor. And it's a little harder to see with the black line, but we're pretty darn close. And there we go, one mark below the 30. So we did 130. We did pretty well. Alrighty, so that is copying an angle or making a congruent angle. So the last construction we're going to do today is how do we take an angle and cut it in half? So technically we call this bisect. So like you have a bicycle with two wheels, bisecting, we are going to take an object and cut it perfectly in half. So the two halves are equal to each other. So again, let's start out by drawing an angle. And I'm going to start with an acute angle, and then we'll do an obtuse angle as our last example. So here's an acute angle. Actually, you know what? I'm going to redo that. All we need on this one is our acute angle. We do not need to copy any new pieces anywhere. So I'm just going to put this in the middle, give myself lots of room to work. Okay, so next step, we need our compass. I'm going to change the color to red. So our first piece is, again, let's kind of draw an arc so we can almost measure the space in that angle. So I'm going to put center right at the vertex of my angle. I'm going to go ahead and unlock this. And we want to set our compass. So again, we'd be able to draw an arc going all the way around that hits both sides. You don't want to draw this too close into the center, especially if you're going to do this with a compass by hand. The further away you can get it, the more space you'll have to work. It's really hard to do compass drawings when you have really, really small lengths in there. Okay, lock it up. Draw your arc so it intersects both sides. That's what we want. Okay, from here you have two options. We could just leave our compass set, but the biggest thing is we want to actually move our compass now so we have it sitting with the pointed end at one of these new intersection points on our side. And so here's where we're going to start marking where the middle is, kind of X marks the spot. So we want to be able to take our compass and put an arc right smack in the middle. Now it looks like the way I have my compass set, that should work just fine for this one. Sometimes you'll have to adjust your size, especially when we look at, we're going to do an obtuse angle last. So we may need to sometimes adjust our compass width. So let's see, I'm about to do my next stage. So let me change it to green. There we go. Okay. So again, I'm not changing my compass width. And once I decide where I can draw an arc that will be kind of towards the middle of this space, I do not want to change the width of my compass from here on out. Go ahead and draw an arc. And again, if you're worried about it not being big enough, just draw it a little bigger. Okay, then I want to do exactly the same arc, moving the center of my compass, pointy end, to the right-hand intersection point. And then I'm going to draw my arc. And again, if you want to move it around or twist your compass around, just grab on the pencil edge. It won't actually draw until it flips around like that. And then you can grab up on the top to draw your arc. And the whole point is we're trying to get these to meet in the middle. Because just like a midpoint on a segment, the middle is where our bisector is going to go through. So now I can draw a segment that goes from the vertex of my starting angle to right through X marks the spot. And that perfectly divides the angle in half. So I have bisected the angle. That green segment is my angle bisector. All right, let's do one more. So I did an acute angle. Let's do an obtuse angle next. Okay, so again, resetting my original angle to be black. So let's do an obtuse angle. So bigger than 90 degrees. Let me try lining this up better. There we go. So obtuse angle, we're going to cut it perfectly in half. First, we need our compass tool. And I'm going to turn it red. And there's our compass tool. Pointy end, right smack at the vertex. And we're going to want to be able to draw our arc so it intersects both sides. Looks like we're set up beautifully. So let's go ahead and draw it. Again, if you're using this online tool, pull your mouse around kind of slow, because if it notices that you're kind of getting to area where it's not going to be flipped around the right way, it's automatically going to flip it. So be careful on that. Okay, so next step, again, let me turn to green for our second step. So we would move our pointy end of our compass at one of our new intersection points between the arc and the side. And we want to make sure that our angle, that our arc that we're going to draw with the green is going to be in the middle. Now it doesn't look, I can't tell if it's going to go far enough. So I'm going to widen my compass a bit. So unlock it, widen it up. And again, it's not a bad thing to kind of, if you've got the space, okay, take it a little bit wider. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you have that workspace to use it, go for it. So now I'm going to lock it up, draw my arc. And I know that this is definitely going through the middle. Okay. And again, err on the side of caution, draw a longer arc if you're worried about the length. So now where do I line it up again? Other intersection point with the red arc and the side of our arc angle. I'm going to move my pencil over. And since my compass is locked, it's not changing the width. And then I'm drawing an arc so it intersects with that other green arc. I don't have to go as long because now I can see exactly where that's going to happen. And so now I'm ready to draw my angle bisector. So take my segment tool, connect my red vertex, and go right through the middle of that intersection. And I have now perfectly cut that angle in half. Let's double check just to make sure. Okay, so get out a protractor. Alrighty, and we can actually change the size of the protractor, which I'm going to go ahead and do because this is a big angle. I want to be able to see things lining up a little bit better. And actually, this is lined up pretty darn close. Let me just double check, make sure that all those lines on the bottom line up with one side of my angle. Okay, for our green, looks like we're going to a mark past the 70. So let's call that 71 degrees. So if I rotate this around, the other half the angle should also be 78 degrees. So I'm just going to rotate it until I'm lining up with that side. And then lo and behold, now the other side of the angle is hitting at that 71 degrees, and 71 plus 71 gets us to our full angle. If I rotate it back around, 71 plus 71 should give us 142. And there we go. There's the 140, and we're 2 marks past. All right, so make sure you answer your question and submit your video. Okay, again, if you want to see more examples, look at the additional examples that are posted right after this video. But then check out your practice. So we're going to have you create your own construction. So you need to be able to demonstrate that you can do one of each construction. You can use this tool, or you can do your own constructions on a piece of paper and take a picture and submit that to the assignment instead. If you're going to use this online tool, do a screenshot. And again, let me know if you have any questions on how to accomplish that.